Hey guys, this is Lewis from What Would Love a Web Dev here, and I wanted to go over how to manage Salient, right? With the by made by the theme nectar made by the author Theme Nectar. So I want to go over my process real quick, some what I feel are do's and don'ts. So let's just dive in right into it. The first thing is like, uh, what do you do if okay, restart, cut. Hey guys, this is Lewis from Mobile Love Web Dev here, and I wanted to go over how to manage support and what do you do if you're having difficult issues or if you need to escalate things with Salient support, right? So I'm gonna go over through my process real quick and how to elevate things and how to manage it. So the first thing is that there are two levels of support. There's themenectar.tixie, and there is the discussion board that Salient himself actually replies. Salient usually, I'm sorry, that Theme Nectar replies. My bad. He replies directly. He usually does in 24 hours. It can take 36 hours or a bit longer. Um, Tixie is either 24 is definitely 24 hours, but so it can be 24 hours or less. Sometimes they reply even faster than that, like within 2 hours or 5 hours. But around 10 to 12 hours. That's usually it, right? Something like that. Um, so what do you do if you need to elevate things? Well, usually, a lot of the times, hopefully for you guys, um, after you ask a question, right? If you submit a ticket, because there's a couple things too is that you need to do your due diligence. Um, you need to do your due diligence and actually like give them as much description as possible. Use Command Shift 3 for a screenshot of whatever it is, and crop out the screenshot and make it happen. And you need to give them as much description as possible, because sometimes what I think it takes so long is because the person asking the question is not doing a great job of asking the question. So just in case you don't know, I want to do this real quick. So just in case you don't know, just in case, I know you probably do, but just in case, I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna take a screenshot, right? Or let's say, okay, let's say we're on the demo of Salient's beautiful, our theme nectar's beautiful Salient page, but let's take a screenshot and let's say that something wasn't working here, right? So we take a screenshot, use Command Shift 3. If you're on a Mac, if you're on a PC, it's different. You want to use print screen, right? On the top of the button list, depending on your keyboard layout. But just look for print screen, right? And you can also Google that too. Um, so we have a screenshot here, and we have preview. So what you could do is you could crop that baby out. I believe it's Command K. Okay, yeah. And then you have, where is the thingamabobber? So you have a way that you can just literally point and just be like, this is what I'm talking about. And even this little bit is really, really helpful. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. Boom. You can even add a text box. I wouldn't do that. I think it's kind of a waste of time. But, just like, if you could just say, this is what it is. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is it right here. Like, right here. Take a look. See if I can just change the color. Ooh, shit. Yeah. This is it right here. Like, this button isn't working. Do you see how it's not working? Okay? Because what you don't want to happen, and what can cause extreme frustration, is for them to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Or it could be usually they'll just specify and just be like, can you specify further, please? Because, like, I don't understand it. Which is perfectly understandable. So the first thing is just get your ducks all in a row to where they can't. It's not possible that they could do that. And to hear an Andrew from Tixie, they're super smart, so they do a good job a lot of the times interpreting it. But sometimes they do need to ask you because it's a little too gray. But if you have a freaking screenshot of you being like, "This is the problem," then it's gonna be super helpful. Okay, so um, do that, and then the other thing you need to think of ahead of time. Okay, do I need my login for this? Okay, because the second thing that they're gonna have to ask if they need to get in is a login. So, and if you do put a login, then you need to make sure that your ticket visibility, that this is ticked off like this. Okay, you need to be private because otherwise they're gonna have to delete your ticket or private it or something because your information will be out there. So you gotta think of those two things beforehand, right? Think of um, uh, the screenshot, right, to show them exactly where it is, and then the um, the login itself for WordPress, right? That you're doing it for. You have those two things. You have that, and if decent description, it doesn't have to be super descriptive. Like that's, um, it doesn't have to be super descriptive, right? So it can just be that. So just do that. Um, just do that, and it'll be really helpful, right? And it'll minimize the possibility of any like um, procrastination on either party, right? So, and it'll help communicate a clear message. So, what happens if you did that? You did a really good job, and you're just like, okay, they're not answering my question, or it's just, sometimes it happens, and it's happened very rarely, but they either take a little longer than I like 36 hours, or they just ask, like, they keep asking, or they say that they can't do something. Because there's been times where not that they can't do something, it's just it's a little out of scope. And not to bash, I'm not going to say who or whatever or what when, but it's happened before, okay, and I need to escalate this, but I don't know how. So you can go to the comment board and escalate it to Themenectar. Now some people just go right out and just do that for every question, and I mean, I just try to, come on, man, like be a little respectful and use the other service. It can be faster, and it'll work just fine. But at least now you'll have even a full escalation process, right? Um, and if the thing is that, and on top of that, you will need at some point you will need support, because if you don't have support, I mean, I don't know if you need support, but you make that decision on your own. But um, if he needs to escalate it, then you will need support, right? If he needs to escalate it to Tixie and say, hey, man, let's escalate. Because sometimes it is serious enough to where he'll be like, this is past the scope of discussion board. Like, let's go into the private because I need your person. I need some of the information. I need your login, something like that. So that's why it's like you don't want to do that every time, because it'll just be a waste of time sometimes. I know I said just time a ton, but you see what I'm saying? Because if he needs to get in and you don't have support, then he's going to ask you to just buy support. Whereas if you would have just asked that information and you knew they needed the login, right? Then you can just put that in there. You could just submit the ticket before all of that crap. And it would have saved you 36 hours or 24 hours, because Themenectar, he does an amazing job, but there's thousands of questions being asked, so you can't expect him, like, he's been asked, I think it's like there's hundreds of questions. There's sometimes there's a large number of questions, I'm sure. So it may be 24, maybe 36, maybe a little longer. So that's why it would be good. But in Tixie, they always try to make it a minimum of 24 is what I've seen. It's not stated anywhere as far as I know, but I'm just giving you 4 years of my understanding. And to me that's the best way. And that's That's why I have it. I don't know if you don't have to get it. I don't know, but all I know is that if it needs to be escalated, then then it makes sense, and that way you can give them a login. So that's kind of the process, right? You ask, you prepare the best question. You prepare the best question as possible. If they need the login, sometimes I just reply it. Sometimes I just, if I even have the inkling that they will need that, then I just supply the login inside of Tixie, and then I supply the picture I can, and prepare as best as possible. If Andrew doesn't answer, then I firmly ask again. As it depends on the nature of the question, and we can kind of go deeper into that if anybody cares. But basically, prepare as much as possible. If Andrew doesn't ask, you can ask for Tahir to ask his take directly. And you can skip that process, and you can just go, if you're really feeling like a red alert after their first question answer, and you're like, man, I just really don't like that answer, then you go to Themenectar and you describe it. You'll get the highest level of support that way. But if he needs to escalate it, then you can just let him know ahead of time, hey, I'm leaving a comment here with my login, please help me, and he'll go in himself. So that is probably the quickest way. You just have to understand that you'll need that, but that would be the best way and the quickest way to get your problem solved. Because sometimes I'm sure there's some people that are pulling their hair out sometimes, but none of that is usually necessary if you just know this process, and you just prepare as best as possible, and you send it off as soon as possible, and then you can usually get everything fixed within 24 hours. Obviously, I'm sure it doesn't always happen, but hopefully this process helped, right? And I kind of gave you like the different, because there's the different ways you can think about it. So let me know if you guys need something more, or if anybody has the same issues. Please comment below. Let me know any of your problems with the support and you want to talk about it, or maybe a solution of how to actually deal with it. I'd love to kind of open up a dialogue on this, because I feel like there's a lot of people that I felt like have been in maybe not so good situation and felt a lot of desperation. I know I have at some point, and I didn't really understand this process from the beginning. So I've been there, and it sucks, especially when you have a client that is, that you really either want to press, or you're scared to lose them, or because of this problem. So that is the worst feeling in the world. So if I can help anybody in that feeling, not feel that and get their questions answered as soon as possible, that'd be cool. That would be really awesome. So I felt like this was kind of long-winded. Thank you guys for bearing with me through this. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to be doing these as consistently as humanly possible to help people with Salient specifically, and more WordPress stuff overall. So talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.